Well, that's the one thing that the board was very clear on from the beginning as they did public policy, that we had to use a framework before we would agree that we would support anything. One was that whatever bill or legislation or policy that we wanted to develop had to be broad-based. So it had to go beyond just one sector. It had to help multiple sectors of the nonprofit community. Two, it also required that our board had a supermajority decision. So what we didn't want to do was split the board because we could be splitting the nonprofit sector. So that the board had to really agree on by a 2/3 decision that this was the way to move a policy forward. So we created a framework that we would as staff use before we brought something to the board, but then the board had its own safety valve to some degree, that they had to have more than 2/3 of the board support the public policy position. Now at times that might have restricted some of our movements, and that could be frustrating from a staff perspective when you're ready to go on something. But it often allowed us to be that voice so we could represent the entire sector. Then we worked with what we call subsector groups. So the groups that were representing human services and the environment, we would provide them with tools and resources, but then we would let the arts community, if they wanted to fight for the arts budget in the state budget, that was their goal and objective. We could go in and talk about the overall budget, but then we would have our partners talk about their specific area. And that helped us keep the topic of the nonprofit sector as a whole in everyone's mind, but then allowed our partners to take a look at issue by issue.